Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother, what did I write? Oh, incalescent. Matthew Henry. How you doing, Matthew?
I'm good, and because you were stumbling over it, I had just enough time to Google it.
Good.
Means and it's incalescent.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And
cool.
and growing warm or ardent. I'm assuming I'm growing warm.
You're growing warm or you're ardent. I mean, I think both of those things could be true as it relates to spring training.
Oh, of course.
Right? Because it's like Matthew, we are so close. We are so close. Like, to real baseball games. And I don't mean that team from you-know-where playing that other team from I don't care in that country far away. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the San Francisco Giants, and opening day are less than 2 weeks away as we record this podcast. And also when you're listening to it, because that's how time works. So that's why you're incalescent, because things are getting hot, Matthew.
I'm getting hot.
The Giants look so good. I think they should just start right now.
Yes, I agree. Let's just skip everything else and let's go straight to the regular season.
Agreed. Let's do it. I think you and I get to decide that, right?
If we don't, we should.
That's right. We should. Well, so on that note, Matthew, since we're talking about spring training and baseball, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's a totally hypothetical question. I mean, actually, it's kind of a fantasy question because this would never happen.
Oh, okay.
This would never happen. But I thought since it would never happen, it might be fun for you to think about. If you made a prediction and then it became true, like you were right. And I don't mean like you in the general sense. I mean like you, Matthew Henry, specifically.
Okay. I like this so far. Yeah.
Would you be cool about it?
Oh, no.
Or would you? Oh, you're not going to let me finish.
Oh, there's a second part? Okay,
well.
no.
That doesn't bode well. Because I was going to oh, no. Oh, no. I was going to say, or would you rub it in my face?
Oh, I think we know the answer to that question, Ben.
Oh, no.
I think you knew the answer to that question when you were writing it. Have you ever known me to be cool about something when I was right?
No, not once.
Not once.
Not once. And you often believe you're going to be right. Like that's like, but sometimes you know that you're not likely to be right. And I think that was the case in this case, which is just going to make it even worse. Even worse. No. Anyway, today is Saturday, May 15th, as we record this podcast. Your San Francisco Giants went 4-2 during this abbreviated week to bring their spring training record to 14-5. I see you've left out the ties, Matthew.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about them because MLB didn't put them in their...
They don't count anyway. They don't count. Did you know in the old days when there was a tie in the World Series, they would just play another World Series game?
I like it.
They'd just play another one.
Let's harken back.
If it got too dark and they ran out of time?
Screw the base ghost runner on second or whatever. We just do a new game.
That's right. Yeah, just play a whole nother game. I mean, don't you think that would be good for the gate and the ratings?
It would be.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like they got their priorities out of order. But anyway, yeah, like who cares about ties? Are the Giants still the best team? They lost twice, Matthew. They lost twice in a row. Do they still have the best record in all of spring training, or in the Cactus League?
They do.
Okay, good. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, right. It's Saturday. It's Saturday because Matthew's too important to record with me tomorrow. So we're recording early so that you could get us at the normal time. So that's why we don't know what happened on Sunday, because it hasn't happened yet.
I apologize.
Even though it has happened for you.
I apologize. My daughter is a huge Hunger Games fanatic.
Okay.
And she came to me a month ago and said, Dad, they're doing like a Hunger Games marathon. And I want to take a friend and go. And she's at that age where she could probably go herself, but it's in Napa. It's like an hour's drive. And so I got to take her and her friend. And theoretically, I'm going to watch 4 Hunger Games movies in a row. But I also scoped out the area, and there's a really nice restaurant right across the parking lot from the movie theater that has an upscale bar. And so I imagine by the 4th movie, I might just end up there. But I won't get back until way late, and so we couldn't record on Sunday night.
Right. I stopped listening to that story as soon as I realized you were talking about a movie marathon and not actual Hunger Games.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. I would definitely pay to go see that.
That's disgusting, dude. You're a horrible person. And I don't know what that says about your daughter that she would be into it too. Now, granted, that's not true. She wants the movies, not the real thing.
Yeah, but she's a big Katniss fan, so she's definitely on the right side of
Got it. Yeah. Understood. So what you're saying is that your daughter, your children are more important to you than the San Francisco Giants.
This is what I'm saying. Yes, and frankly, folks, it should be that way for all of you. I mean, not with my children, but your children.
Whoa. For those of you who are listening to the show who know that is not true for them, well, you know what I'm about to say. I don't need to say it. I don't need to ruin my life in a podcast. But you know what I'm saying. Well, anyway, so what are we talking about today, Matthew? What are we going to talk about?
We're going to look into our crystal ball, and we're going to decide for Buster and Bob Melvin what the 26-man roster is going to be.
That's right. That is what we are going to be doing because we're running out of time. And we got to do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to be predicting the roster, the lineup, the rotation, and the bullpen. But we can't do any of that, Matthew, until you ask us our trivia question.
Okay. Well, today's trivia question is, in what year did the Giants simultaneously have a pitcher who led the league in strikeouts, a pitcher who led the league in walks, and a pitcher who led the league in saves? Also, who were the pitchers?
Who were the pitchers? And what the answer to the question is, what year did it happen?
Yes.
Well, it happened in 1994, and it was Atlee Hammaker, William Van Landingham, and Trevor Wilson.
Okay. All right.
Boom. Done.
Folks, we'll see how wrong Ben is at the end of the episode.
Pshaw.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys?
Yes, Bob. Let's talk cocktails.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Bob, I'm drinking something that I just found somewhere. I don't even remember. It's called Greta Garbo. I knew who she was, an actress, but I didn't really know much about her because, it was way before my time. She was like a heartthrob and all that. Turns out that she stopped acting at the age of 35. Like, she retired when she was 35, much like Buster Posey.
Because she got too old.
Well, maybe. Yeah, that's probably it. But anyway, the cocktail Greta Garbo has 2 ounces of light white rum, a 1/4 ounce of Luxardo Maraschino liqueur, a 1/2 ounce of rich simple syrup, 1 ounce of lime juice, and 2 bar spoonfuls of absinthe, or 1/6 of an ounce. It's, whatever, if you got but it's 2 bar spoonfuls. And you're going to put all those into a shaker with ice, give it a good shake for 12 to 15 seconds, double strain it into a coupe glass, no garnish necessary. And it's basically a fancy daiquiri, But the absinthe and all that tastes really yummy, and I really like it. So that's what I'm drinking, Bob. A Greta Garbo.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Actually, it is. It really is. And it's a good riff on a daiquiri.
What are you drinking, Ben?
I don't like the tone of your voice, Bob. Look, I didn't mean that she was too old, okay? Like what I meant was that in that time, the powers that be decided that she was too old. She could have kept acting until she was 100. Like that's what I meant, okay? I didn't mean that she was too old, okay? So enough of your attitude. But anyway, thank you for asking, Bob. That's very kind of you. Today, Bob, I'm drinking spring cocktail number 4. And folks, next week I'm fine. I'm settling in on what is the cocktail of the spring. That's happening next Sunday. It might be this one, or it might be a variation of it, because this one, quite frankly, Bob, is pretty good. So what is spring cocktail number 4? Well, spring cocktail number 4 is 1.5 ounces of Mezcal, 1/2 ounce of Elderflower liqueur, 1 ounce of simple syrup, 1 ounce of lime juice, and then it says here in front of me, shake it, rocks, cherries. I think what I meant here was shake that until it's well chilled, and then pour that into a rocks glass over fresh ice, and garnish it with a lime wedge or twist, but in my case, I used cherries. And that's how you make spring cocktail number 4, Bob, and that's what I'm drinking.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Look, dude, I said I was sorry.
All right, looks good. Looks good. I have a question for you, Ben.
Yeah.
How's the head feeling?
The head? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I took a tumble. I took a little tumble. I took a tumble. I banged my head. I was.
So you were in concussion protocol?
I was in concussion protocol. That's right. I think my wife called me a mecklehead.
A mecklehead?
A mecklehead. Yeah, just like you stupid mecklehead.
Well, she's not wrong.
Yeah. Well, you know who else was on concussion protocol?
The mecklehead himself.
That's right. Wade Meckler was on the concussion protocol. He took a tumble last weekend and we totally missed it. But he's better because I think he played today as we record this podcast. So my head's feeling pretty good.
All right. How about the ribs after I whacked you one last week? You good?
You couldn't hurt me. That's fine. Fine. It was I don't know. It was a little tickle. It was a tickle.
All right. Yeah, my finger's doing great. I can flip you off anytime I want.
Good. I'm not pulling it. No. I'm not pulling it. Not
all right. Learned your lesson. I respect that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think what you're saying is between two, like this is a rarity, Matthew. There are two old men having a conversation, and neither one of them is talking about their current ailment.
Right. And it seems like that. I mean, the Giants also, generally are an older team that someone's always hurt. Nobody's hurt right now.
Well, okay. First of all, somebody is hurt. Speaking of old men.
Oh, I've moved on from old Tom. Okay. I mean.
Oh, poor old Tom. But yeah, actually, you know what? This terrifies me. I'm terrified, Matthew. I am absolutely terrified of the fact that nobody is hurt. like it's freaking me out a little bit, man. Like I just saw it's because I know it's coming because it's baseball and it happens every year and it's 162 games. But like, oh man, the idea that they could start, but there's like so many days away, and I feel like the more I talk about it, the more it's going to happen, and now it's going to happen. It's going to be all my fault, and I'm just terrified. Well, that's how I'm feeling about the fact that nobody's hurt.
You're not the only one freaking out about that. I'm sure all the Casey Schmidt's probably walking around asking Chapman how he's feeling. There's, right. David Villar is probably really asking like a few people how they're feeling right now. Like there's some guys that were really hoping for an injury.
Yeah. Like David Villar is like, Casey and Matt, can I talk to the two of you together? Yeah, that's true. You're right. There's a lot of guys out there that were like, oh, well, maybe somebody will get hurt and that'll, give me an opportunity. And that happens to people all the time, but it's not happening for anybody right now.
No. Speaking,
And I hope it stays
me
that
too.
way.
I do.
I hope it stays that way.
Speaking of Matt Chapman, though,
But I'm not. Oh yeah.
so just before we get into what we were going to talk about, I saw on MLB.com there was a poll of MLB players about like the name, who is the best defensive player in baseball, and they named 5 players. Two of those 5 were San Francisco Giants.
Whoa.
So tied for first was Andres Jimenez and Francisco Lindor.
And Patrick Bailey.
Francisco Lindor. Yes, it should have been Patrick Bailey, but it was not. Then Bobby Witt Jr. was 3rd, and then Matt Chapman was 4th, and Patrick Bailey was 5th. And the article does say that the catchers definitely favored Patrick Bailey, which goes to show you that the catchers sometimes are the smartest ones in the room, because Patrick Bailey's value was way better than Bobby Witt Jr. Or, so I to him be so low is crazy. But I just thought it was great that 2 guys made, amongst their peers were voted the best defensive player in the game.
Well, I think that's remarkable because, first of all of those guys, I think you said, were catchers and middle infielders. Is that right?
Yeah, middle infielders. Yep.
Except for
Chapman and Bailey.
Well, there's no role that's more important defensively than catcher, right? I mean, obviously, pitcher is the most important defensive role if you think about it, but that's not what we mean when we say defense. The catcher is the most important defensive position, like no doubt. And Patrick Bailey is the best defensive catcher, and I just don't think there's anybody else who's so much better than Bailey at their less important position that they're therefore the best defender in baseball. I think that other people just haven't realized it yet. And yeah, I think there's a little bit of catcher bias going on here. But I will say this, Matt Chapman is that good of a third baseman to be on that
Yeah,
list.
well, like one of the guys that was quoted there, anonymously was saying, well, we're going to talk about best players. Matt Chapman has several gold gloves and then a platinum glove. Is that we got to start with him, right? And that was kind of the, so people really respect what Matt Chapman has done.
Right. Well, Matthew, do you think then that means that Matt Chapman is going to be on the Giants' 26-man roster to start opening day?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes. I think he's gonna be on.
Yeah, that seems like a safe bet. Seems like a safe bet. The whole injury discussion that we just had notwithstanding. It seems like a safe bet. Do you think he's going to be in the starting lineup? Do you think he's good enough to start opening day?
Yes, I do.
Do you think he's going to have an important spot in the lineup? I mean, he's a good defender,
Yeah, he's going to back cleanup, Ben. I mean, it's he's.
Okay. Oh, well, then we should probably talk about the rest of the roster and the lineup since you just gave it all away.
You asked.
Yeah, whatever. I plead the fifth. Anyway, my point is, it's time to talk about the roster.
Okay.
And we're going to break it down. And because, everybody's doing it. And I wanted to do it now before the picture got too much more clear, right? Especially now when everybody's healthy, right? Because then we're putting ourselves into a tough position, right? We have to make the hard choices. Like we're not going to just announce what our predictions are before opening day. We're going to announce it now when there's still some doubt in the air.
All right.
And yes, that means we even had to figure out who was going to be in the bullpen. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Right now, we're going to talk about the position players, starting with the outfield. And I thought what we could do, Matthew, is we would start with the starters, and then kind of go left to right, and then go to the bench. And then we'll go to the infielders, go left to right, and go to the bench. And then start at catcher and go left to right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then go to the bench.
I got it.
Okay. And then we'll talk about the lineup.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with what I believe, and you believe, we agree on this, who the opening day left fielder is going to be. And that is going to be one Elliot Ramos, the man who is destined to break the curse of Barry Bonds. But we will have to wait another year for that to happen. But in order for that to happen, he has to start on opening day, and he will.
Agreed.
And, we haven't really seen a lot of Elliott during spring, right? Because he started off because of the whole oblique thing. He couldn't take out the garbage. And so, and it was on the IL. But we've seen a lot of him recently.
Yeah, they're trying to get him some at-bats. And today, I'd say he's ready for the regular season.
He looked pretty good today. He looked pretty good today. And they were facing a split squad Mariners team, but they were the starter was a legit starter. And they actually had some of their legit normal guys there. So, but yeah, Ramos looked pretty good.
Well, and what was encouraging to me was that not only did he look good, he had a home run and a double off the wall. They were against right-handers, and much has been made this last week or two of Elliot Ramos possibly batting leadoff against left-handers because he had the second highest OPS against lefties last year. Or I don't know, he was right up there with Aaron Judge in terms of how he did against lefties. And so I think that, I think he's going to be the starter there. And to see him batting well against righties as well as he hit lefties last year only makes me more excited to see him day to day. So Elliot Ramos definitely makes the team. Opening day left fielder, agreed.
Yeah, and I think that is an interesting point, right? You talking about because he was the hot topic this week. A lot of people were talking about Elliott. I think one because he was finally getting some significant playing time, but was also being effective, right? Didn't get off to a slow start, which was a great sign. And then there was this discussion of like, why is he batting leadoff, right? Because there was some thoughts, like this was my thought when I saw him up at the top of the lineup was, oh, they just must be putting him up there to get him more at bats. Right. Yeah. Like give him more opportunities, maybe get him an extra at bat per game, and then if you put him in the first spot in the lineup, that's going to happen to him earlier. Yeah. But then no, like people started saying like, no, like there's a good chance that that's your leadoff guy for when they're facing a left-hander. And when you look at his splits, man, the guy is not, he's a little bit of a below average player, or he was last year against right-handed. Not horrible, but he's below average compared to everybody else against right-handers. So that includes other left-handed batters, by the way. That includes left-handed batters. So his split OPS is 88, right? So 100 is average. So he's 12 points below average against right-handed pitchers, or he was last year. This year, Matthew? Or against left-handed batters, Matthew? Pitchers? Can I just say these things correctly? No, I can't. Elliot Ramos against left-handed pitchers had an OPS plus of 229. He was 129 points above average against left-handers. He annihilates them. He crushes them. They like when left-handers go to sleep and have nightmares, they're dreaming about Elliot Ramos. He is a monster against them. And one of the things that you want to do against your best hitter, for your best hitters, is have them get as many at-bats as possible. And one way to do that is have them bat leadoff. So that's not a horrible idea. And quite frankly, I'm in favor.
I'm in favor too. I don't know what else you want me to say on that, but that's, yes.
No, I don't know. I thought maybe you had like an Elliot Ramos golden nugget or something to pass out.
Well, I think you're always worried about a guy that has a breakout season, whether they can, was that a flash in the pan, or are they on their path to being a legitimate major league player? And so far what we've seen in the spring, it seems like, the latter. So I'm hoping that what we see is another great Ramos season. And if he can hit righties even a little bit better than he did, last year, then things are looking really good for the Giants. And I don't mind him at all hitting leadoff against left-handers if he hits lefties that well.
I agree. All right. Well, we have a lot of players to cover, and we are not going to dive as deep into all of them. But we are going to call out a few important players along the way. So I don't want you all to think that we're just Ramos fans and we don't like any of the other players who are coming up, especially the next guy who we know is going to be your starting center fielder. And that is one Jung-Hoo Lee.
Grandson of the Wind. That's right.
grandson of the wind. And there are obviously lots of things to say about him. Look, I think we don't know. We don't know because we didn't get to see enough last year. And hopefully we will get to see what we've all been waiting too long for. And that all begins on opening day when he starts in center field. And he'll be starting next to
Mike Yastrzemski. Longest tenured Giant, Mike Yastrzemski, starts on opening day.
Longest tenured Giant, Mike Yastrzemski. And some of you might be really upset about that. But would you be upset about that if the longest tenured Giant was still Austin Slater? Because I know you Slater haters tend to be Yaz haters too. You know, there were two sides of the same coin, right? Like in your guys' eyes, right? So yeah, Mike starting in right field. He's an experienced guy who is a smart baseball player and is not as bad as everybody thinks he is.
No, he's not. And looking at his weighted runs created plus over the last year, he's never been below league average in his career.
Well, that sucks, Matthew, because I only like guys who are above average.
Well, he has been above average. He's never been below league average, though. He's been, 103 is like his lowest.
Oh, yeah, but, they have to be all-stars. What I mean.
Oh, okay. Well, then that sucks.
I just don't like him because he didn't play every day. I don't like him because he was the best thing that Farhan Zaidi ever did. There you go. That's why I don't like him. No, I do like Mike, and I'm glad that he's going to be out there. So there.
Well, and I think he will definitely. Looking at his splits, he definitely struggles more against left-handers than he does against right-handers. So, perhaps they will team up with somebody to platoon with him, which I think will only make his role stronger, right? I mean, if we're just playing, he's just playing as righties, then I think he will be a big asset for the team.
All right. Okay, now it's time to talk about the bench. There's a lot to be said about this next guy and whether or not he'll actually be on the bench on opening day, but he won't be in the outfield, and that is Jerar Encarnacion, a.k.a. Jerar. I think we gave him the job weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's going to be your number 4 outfielder, at least in terms of depth on the depth chart. I don't think there's any question about that. The only question is he actually your DH? But we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. Right now, we're going to talk about the last bench spot for the outfield. And this was a battle, Matthew.
Yeah.
But we've made a decision.
We have decided on Luis Matos over Grant McCray.
That's right. And why did we make this decision?
Because Luis Matos is a handsome man. No, that's not the reason.
That's weird. What, dude? Why? What? Come on, dude. Come on.
No, Luis Matos has actually had a really good spring and actually played really well in winter ball. And so there's no reason to think that he can't be the guy. Grant McCray has also had a very good season. Still strikes out a lot. And
he's a really good he's a really good center fielder. So he would be great to back up Lee, but I think the strikeouts are too many, and you know what? He's also got too many options. Luis Matos has only got one left. This is his last option year, and I'd rather have him be given the job and have it his to lose since he's only got the one option left, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. He's going to be in David Villar's situation next year if he ends up back in the minors. So I think you got to give it to Matos, especially since he had a great spring. So yes, Matos wins the final spot in the outfield. All right, it's time to talk about the infield.
And this one's really easy. This one's, we do this.
This is obvious.
We knew this from the end of, as soon as they signed Willie Adames, we knew who the infield was going to be, right?
Right. Yeah. And so I don't think we need to dwell on any of these guys too long, but we will rattle their names off anyway. At third base is Matt Chapman. So yes, he is good enough to make the roster and good enough to start at third base since he's the 4th best defender in baseball.
Then we got Willy
according to the
Adames playing shortstop, and who's also had his moments where he's been a really good shortstop and times where he hasn't. But with Matt Chapman playing right next to him, it stands to reason that he will have a very good year at shortstop. So Willy Adames, shortstop, which means our last year starting shortstop, Tyler Fitzgerald, gets moved over to second base. And I got to say, I'm really excited to see that. He's also in that like Elliot Ramos like mold to me, like had a good year last year, but is he the real deal? Can he keep that up? And I'm really hoping that, if Tyler Fitzgerald can prove that he's an everyday player, then that whole Chapman, Adames, Fitzgerald infield will be a solid infield for the next at least 3 or 4 years.
And if he doesn't, we got problems. Playing next to him will be one Lamont Wade Jr., the guy who doesn't get hits but doesn't need to because he's a walking machine. He is going to be your opening day first baseman, and will get all of the appearances against right-handed pitching. And that rounds out the infield, which means it's time to talk about the bench, which is going to be number 1, your favorite player, Matthew.
I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall.
Great. Yes, Matthew will be there for Wilmer when the rain starts to fall.
Wilmer's
because
back.
Because that's the kind of guy Matthew is. And Wilmer is back. He's been having a good spring, so,
reports of his demise were greatly exaggerated, Ben.
That's right. And we'll talk about whether or not he is going to be your everyday DH, or at least your opening day DH later. But now it's time to talk about the last infield position.
Yeah, I know. This one pains you, Ben. I know.
I don't know what you're talking about. Look, Matthew, 2 years ago in February, a young man hit 2 home runs. And ever since then, I have been behind this guy. Like way behind this guy. Like so far behind this guy that I can't even see him. But I gotta admit it. Like, he won the job. And he's the best fit. It's gonna be Brett Wisely.
Yes.
It's gonna be Brett Wisely.
Yeah, well, Casey Schmidt is the other candidate who is having a pretty good spring as well. Unfortunately, Casey does not hit from the left side. And it seems like since Brett Wisely has actually had a pretty good spring himself, that you want somebody that can hit from the left side to come off the bench. And so seems like that would be the case. And that's what we're going with, Brett Wisely making the final cut there.
Yeah, and I think that's the right answer, right? Especially since Matt Chapman is going to play every day, right? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to have Casey Schmidt out there, who is probably not as good of a middle infielder as Brett Wisely. He does have more pop, I think, and is a very good third baseman, but it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So it's going to be Brett Wisely, as much as that pains me. I will say this, Brett's got to be better than a replacement player, though, because he's not one. So he's got to play better than one. Like, you can't put up replacement player numbers, dude. You just can't. You got to be better than that. So, okay, Matthew, now that we've talked about all of the infielders, it's time to talk about the most important defensive position on the field, the position of catcher. And we're going to start from the left side of the field and move to the right. That means we're going to start with Patrick Bailey as your starting catcher.
Obvi. Yes.
Obvi, right? The real question mark is who's going to be his backup, Matthew?
Not old Tom.
No, it's not old Tom. Sorry, old Tom.
It's going to be Sam Huff. And the reason is that Sam Huff has actually had a pretty good spring and is already on the 40-man. And so they don't have to make a move. Max Stassi, who is the other option at catcher, signed a minor league contract. Not real clear if that means he will go to Sacramento. I imagine it does, but sometimes they sign minor league contracts with an opt-out if they don't make the team, and so maybe he'll be a free agent. But as it stands, Sam Huff has, I think, proven, and I like having a little bit of power. He's hit the ball hard this spring, and I wouldn't mind seeing that from a guy that's going to play. He's going to play what, 40 or 50 games.
Yeah, I like that. And he's a right-handed batter, which is Bailey's weaker side. And so I think when he plays, it's going to be against lefties. And I like having just a guy that has a different look than your other guy.
Agreed.
So I agree. I think it's going to be Sam Huff. He won the job. It's not like there was anybody else that was, an obvious fit. So you might as well give it to him. All right. So now that we know who all of the guys are going to be, we now got to decide what order they hit in, Matthew.
Okay.
Because this is very important, Matthew.
Okay.
This is very important. And I'm going to tell you why this is important. Okay? Because I know sometimes you don't think about these things.
Oh, no, I never think about it.
Matthew, if I told you there was a player who in his very long career had 22,350 plate appearances, and then there was another guy who had 18,062 plate appearances, 4,000 plate appearances different.
Wow, that's a lot.
Would you say that that's a significant difference in plate appearances?
I would, but that's a lot for both. But yes, there is a significant difference.
Yeah, well, actually, Matthew, that was the number of plate appearances that people batting first in the lineup had last year versus people batting ninth.
Oh, okay.
The first spot in the order had 4,000 more plate appearances than the people batting ninth. So that was like, let's just simplify that number down. It was 22 to 18, right? Nearly 25% more at bats just by batting first in the lineup than batting ninth. And you want your best hitters to get as many at-bats as they can. That's why Shohei Ohtani bats first. And so the order matters.
Okay, yeah,
right?
Sure, yeah.
Right. All right. And that means you got to put the fast guys that can steal lots of bases first, right?
No.
Oh.
Especially if you don't steal that many bases. No.
Yeah, the Giants don't do that.
No. You put the guy that gets on base a lot first.
That's right. You put Kyle Schwarber as your leadoff hitter.
If you had him on your team, sure.
That's right. So Kyle, all he does is walk or hit home runs. We got a guy like that who doesn't hit as many home runs, but he does walk a lot. He does walk a lot. And so batting leadoff is going to be that guy. So batting first is going to be Lamont Wade Jr. First.
Deal with it, folks.
Yeah. I mean, it's happening. And it's happening because he gets on base a lot.
Yes.
And you want him on base a lot so that the guys who hit for power have guys on base when they hit for power. That's why you do it that way. It's just math. It's just math.
All right. Well, Lamont Wade Jr. has mathed his way to the leadoff spot.
That's right. So that means you got to have good hitters behind him, Matthew. Who was the first good hitter behind him?
I am going to go with newly acquired free agent Willy Adames.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any surprise there.
Well, no, and it's not like we're making this up. Bob Melvin has pretty much said that's.
Yeah. I mean, we're not exactly reading the tea leaves here, are we? We're just looking at what Bob Melvin said he was going to do, and we're taking him at his word. So yeah, Willy Adames, and then hitting after him is going to be the guy that a lot of you think should be the leadoff hitter, because he's the grandson of the Wind, and fast guys should hit leadoff, right? Well, no, he's going to hit third. Traditionally, the spot for your best hitter in your lineup.
And, he by the end of the season, he may be.
He might be.
And his spring OPS is like 930 or something like that. I mean, he's got a lot more power than I think we thought or what people give him credit for. And I think batting him third is going to be great because he will also see lots of pitches right in front of Matt Chapman. I think this is a great place to put him in the lineup, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. All right. Batting cleanup. I already mentioned it earlier. Matt Chapman, Giants' best offensive player last year, and our biggest power threat, honestly. So, or one of them anyway. So Matt Chapman will bat cleanup, and who's batting fifth? Ben?
Well, Matt Chapman is going to confound you, folks. He's going to confound you. He's gonna swing and miss quite a bit.
He's going to strike out 25% of the time, even though the league strikes out 23% of the time.
Right, and so he's that's right. But also, Matthew, his batting average is just not as high as I remember the batting average being from when I was a kid.
League average is 240. So, you know.
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right. But the point is he's going to disappoint people sometimes, so you need a good guy behind him. And we've already talked about him at length today, so I don't really need to toot his horn. It is Elliot Ramos, batting fifth, right behind Matt Chapman. And I should point out, this is the first time in our lineup that we are putting two same-handed batters back-to-back in the lineup, even though we didn't have to do that. But I think it's because Ramos's power and just I think his overall skill as a hitter means that he should be in this spot. Like when Chapman doesn't get it done, you want to have Ramos there to hit the 3-run dinger or the 2-run double. The 2-out, 2-run double to pick up Matt Chapman, and Elliot Ramos is going to be the guy that does that.
And folks, we also got to say this is the first part in the lineup where we're actually starting to speculate a little, because Melvin is kind of committed to the first four, and after that, you're probably going to see a little bit of movement. But we're saying Elliot Ramos. I'm going to say batting sixth is Mike Yastrzemski. And, put another left-hander, you're really kind of almost alternating left and right. And Yastrzemski batting sixth makes sense to me. That's where he's going to be.
I agree. I think this is going to be the spot where he's going to be. I do think it helps the lineup that, he switches hands. So I think that's the most accurate spot for Mike to be. He's also got a little bit of pop, but he's also a good situational hitter in case he's batting towards the top of the inning. I think he's a really good fit there. Batting behind him is going to be your favorite, once again, Matthew, your opening day DH, right-handed Wilmer Flores, getting the nod over Jerar Encarnacion. I don't know. I'm going with it. I feel very confident. I'm confident.
I'm going with it just because that's what's been reported, that apparently he's being rewarded for his being such a veteran that he will get the opening day start. It may not be after that. It's probably going to be Encarnacion more often at DH than Wilmer Flores, and Wilmer will be that experienced bat off the bench. But for opening day, why not? Put him out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, let's see where things are 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's going to be driven by recent results.
Okay.
And I think this could go any way, but I think Encarnacion is the obvious choice when they're facing. I think it's the obvious choice, only other obvious choice, until you start rotating people through rest days and things like that. All right.
Well, batting eighth.
Who is batting eighth?
Batting eighth is Patrick Bailey. And you and I talked about why the 8th and 9th batters are the way they are, so I'll let you explain number 9. But Patrick Bailey, obviously his value is more behind the plate than at the plate. But frankly, if he could just get back to league average, 235, 240 hitter with some pop, occasional run into one, that's all we need from Patrick Bailey. But down at the bottom of the order is where he should be. Ben, who's batting 9th?
Well, batting after Patrick Bailey is going to be Tyler Fitzgerald in the 9th spot. And honestly, I don't think Tyler Fitzgerald is the 9th best hitter in this lineup. But he's going to be in the back third of the lineup anyway. And I think he fits in better at the 9 spot than any of your other guys because he does have that element that everybody wants your leadoff hitter to have. He's got speed. So That's where Tyler's going to play. He's going to be your alternate leadoff hitter hitting in the 9 spot right in front of the, Lamont Wade Jr. and the big boys, so that he can get on base and maybe wreak a little havoc and steal some bases or score on, plays that hits that other guys might not normally score from. So yeah, that's where we think. And then he's also a nice guy because, he can run into one and hit it out of the park and maybe clear some bases when Patrick Bailey does get on base, which I fully expect him to do during the first half of the season. And that is the lineup. Now, we do think there will be some differences when they're facing left-handers. Like Ramos is possibly going to move up to leadoff, as we talked about earlier in the show. Obviously, you're going to see some shifts around. More likely to see Sam Huff show up, and things like that.
Well, and Matos, maybe batting for Yastrzemski when you're facing a left-hander.
Right, and I think we will see a lot of that.
Yeah. So there will be some changes in the lineup. This is just against righties for opening day, what we're speculating. But you know what? I don't hate this lineup, Ben.
No, I think this is a decent lineup. I think it's an underwhelming lineup in terms of sizzle. It doesn't have a lot of sizzle, right?
No, but it's got some meat. It's got some meat to it.
It's got some meat to it. Yeah. All right, now, Matthew, it's time to move on to the pitchers. We're running a little tight on time, so we're not going to be able to glaze everybody the way we have been, okay? We just got to spit their names out and move on. We're lightning round these guys.
Okay, let's lightning round.
I'm going to let you, except for, that's what we're going to do. We're going to lightning round. We can't talk about anything, even any surprises, okay? We're going to have to gloss right over them, okay?
Okay.
You got it?
Sure.
Yeah. Cool. That's what we're doing. All right, ready? We're just going to lightning round.
All right,
okay,
let's go.
All
right.
Just real fast.
Logan Webb.
Oh. Okay, yeah, Logan Webb is your opening day starter. Following him will be Justin Verlander.
Then after him will be Robbie Ray.
Oh, man, I see what you did. God, you're just the worst. You're the worst.
Who's the fourth starter?
Number 4 starter is Jordan Hicks. Okay, it's Jordan Hicks.
And the 5th starter is Landon Roop.
Oh, God.
Landon, who struck out the first 9 batters he faced in a minor league game this week. 13 overall. Landon Roop. Can you, the whole crowd saying that 13 times, Ben? Roop.
Yeah. Oh, I was so hoping it was going to be
They'll be doing that in Sacramento.
Yeah. God, really? Okay. So, yes, we believe that Landon Roop has won the 5th starter job or will have won it by the time opening day rolls around. And that Hayden Birdsong, I guess we're not, yeah. I guess we should just let the cat out of the bag. We think it's going to be Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison both in AAA. And the reason I think that for Hayden is because, he's their next best starter, and they're going to want him to be a starter.
Yeah.
As for Kyle, oh, man, things are not right there. I know everybody's saying, they're all talking the party line. They're talking the party line, but things aren't right there. Things aren't right there, and they're going to have to deal with it in 2 weeks. And then, and I think they're going to deal with that by having him go to AAA, and they're all going to talk about, suddenly their tune will all change. But I'm telling you now, that's what's happening.
I agree. And it's not great. I mean, we had such high hopes for him as, one of the top ranked left-handed prospect in all of baseball just a year or two ago. But he hasn't, he's hitting 91 on this fastball. I mean, that's not major league quality, and you've got better options. So you have to do what's best for the club. He's not going to make the team.
Yeah, the best hope there is that, he's just tired and he's got a late start to spring. And then if that is even the case, they'll have him go to AAA and just basically as an extended spring training. So that's how that's going to go. That's the best case scenario, I think, at this point. And we won't even talk about what is worse than that. But yeah, that's the situation. Landon Roop will be your 5th starter. Hayden Birdsong will be down in Sacramento waiting for somebody to hurt their shoulder or hurt their neck or get tired after 11 pitches. And yes, I am talking about you, Verlander, and you, Robbie Ray, and you, Jordan Hicks.
All right. Ben, bullpen.
All right.
First five guys. Let's just power through them.
It's time to do the bullpen. All right. You go first again.
All right. Ryan Walker.
And what role is he going to be
he'll be
in,
the closer. Ryan Walker will be the closer.
Right. That's right. And he'll be coming in with the lead after Camilo has shut down the 8th inning. My boy, Camilo Doval, who will be there to. And if Ryan falters even just a little bit and he gets the jaws back on the closer roll, he ain't ever giving it back.
Okay, this is a lightning round, but yes, okay, all right. Then Tyler Rogers.
You just wasted more time telling me this was a lightning round.
Tyler Rogers also. If all three of them are right, it's going to be the best back end of a bullpen in baseball.
Agreed. Your lefty leverage guy, Mr. Numb Finger, Eric Miller.
And then your starting forward, bullpen guy is Sean Jelly. He pitched great last year. Excellent. Hasn't been as good this spring, but don't really see why they would not have him in the bullpen.
No, Camilo leads the team in appearances with 7. Okay,
yeah.
So
small sample size
all of the relievers, they just haven't had a lot of looks. So I don't think you can put a ton of stock in their numbers. All right. Well, this is where things get weird, Matthew.
It is. And this is where we are just looking into a muddied crystal ball and kind of guessing what we think is going to happen.
Yeah. And this is this could be Birdsong or Harrison or both could be in these next 3 spots, but we're being bold and saying neither of them. So we're saying these 3 guys instead. And honestly, I let Matthew talk me into some ideas I do not feel good about. So this is mostly his fault. And starting off with started his career in France, Spencer Bivens, your right-handed left-hander.
Yeah, that's a good point because we were only having one left-hander in Eric Miller. The Giants think that Spencer Bivens is effective against lefties, and so I think that's for that reason alone he's going to be part of the bullpen. But I also think that he was pretty impressive last year, and so I don't see why they wouldn't want to keep him around. I think Spencer Bivens makes this team. Next one, Ben. And I know this one is a crapshoot, but I
disagree. I agree. I'm on board.
All right. Lou Trevino makes the roster as a non-roster invitee, and he makes it because he's pitched really well actually this spring, and him and Bob Melvin go back to their Oakland days, and so I think Bob Melvin trusts him, and so I think Trevino makes the team.
He'll be gone by May. And then the last guy getting the last spot is going to be your long reliever, Tristan Beck, over Kyle Harrison / Hayden Birdsong. He's pitched great in every, whenever he hasn't had an aneurysm in his arm.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why you should, he's proven it at the major league level. So I think he's going to get the nod. And he's been healthy since the end of last year. So I feel very, very confident in this pick, especially since I think he's not in the really serious discussions for a starter role. That's going to be Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison, and they're going to AAA for the reasons that we already discussed. So that is your full roster. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be.
That's how it's going to be. We have declared it.
Although I do really feel like the Lou Trevino thing is like, if we're wrong about that, that's because Matthew.
You gotta have a dark horse every year. Every year somebody makes it.
You already got your dark horse and you won.
Roop.
It's like, yeah, and for that, because you won that, I had to give you Lou Trevino. So it's Roop and Lou Trevino.
I always want to say Lee Trevino because he's the golfer from back in the day. All right. Well, that's it, Ben. That's our roster.
That's the roster. We're done. Yeah, we're done with the show.
All right. Well, we do need to answer the trivia question, so maybe we should do that.
Yeah. Okay.
If you remember, folks, the question was, what was the question? In what year did the Giants simultaneously have a pitcher who led the league in strikeouts, a pitcher who led the league in walks, and a pitcher who led the league in saves? Also, who were the pitchers? And you said 94. You named off a bunch of guys. None of them were right. Ben, the year was 2010, where Tim Lincecum led the league with 231 strikeouts. Jonathan Sanchez led the league with 96 walks. Brian Wilson led the league with 48 saves. And what's interesting is while Sanchez did lead the league in walks, he also led the league in fewest hits per 9 inning with 6.6. So he actually was a very good pitcher that year, even though he led the league in walks. He just didn't let him. He
was effectively wild.
Yeah.
He was effectively wild.
So, I just got excited about that because I feel like we've got some guns in our starting rotation this year. We've got a back end guy. Maybe it's 2010 all over again, Ben. Maybe we got some horses that can lead us to the promised land.
I mean, it's still spring training, Matthew, so I'm going to say maybe.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to jump off. Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for following along. Ben, don't forget to follow us on the socials at Giant Cocktails on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and yes, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Don't forget to rate us. You can give us a good review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That would really help the show. And remember, you can also follow us on YouTube, and you can even leave comments there and leave comments on Spotify, where Ben dutifully checks to make sure that he's connecting with all of our listeners.
Once every couple weeks.
Ben, it's been great chatting with you again this week. Until next time, cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Matthew. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
That reminds me of my favorite Greek jokes. So, ancient Greece, a guy walks into a tailor and it says, "Hey, my pants are torn." And the tailor says, "Euripides?" And the customer says, "Yeah, Eumenides?"
God damn it. I'm gonna cut out my whole story. I'm just gonna be like this, and then I'm gonna have that joke be at the end.
All right. Knew that joke would come in handy at some point.
Oh, Jesus.